The alien looked at me with eyes that held 10,000 years of memory and said something I will never forget. Before you were born, you volunteered for the hardest assignment in this galaxy, and you had no idea if you would survive it. I'm standing in a forest clearing at 2:47 a.m. My hands are shaking. My heart is racing. And every certainty I've built over 47 years is crumbling. Because what he just told me changes everything. Not just about me. About humanity. About why we suffer. Why we forget. Why we feel so desperately alone. And about what's coming in the next 15 years. My name is David Chen. I'm a quantum physicist. MIT graduate. Published researcher. 23 years studying the fundamental nature of reality. And I thought I understood how the universe worked. I was wrong. Completely wrong. What I'm about to tell you will sound impossible. I know because 3 months ago, I would have dismissed every word. But I can't dismiss it anymore. Because I've seen it. I've felt it. And I've been shown something that no telescope will ever reveal and no equation will ever prove. The truth about what we are. Why we're here. And why the next 15 years will determine if humanity awakens or sleeps for another 26,000 years. This is not a metaphor. This is not philosophy. This is what happened when I met something not human and heard the one thing I was never supposed to forget but did anyway. 4 months ago, I'm in my lab at 3:17 a.m. Another breakthrough. Another paper proving quantum entanglement operates faster than light. Another confirmation that consciousness affects particle behavior in ways we still can't explain. I should feel accomplished. I feel nothing. Empty. I stare at the data on my screen. 30 years of education. Decades of research. And what has it given me? Numbers. Theories. Recognition from people I don't care about. I drive home in complete silence. No music. No podcasts. Just the hum of the engine and a question I can't stop asking. What's the point? I pull over to the side of the road. Suburban Street. 4:23 a.m. Nobody around. And I brake. For the first time in 15 years, I cry. Not because something happened. Because nothing matters. Success feels empty. Research feels pointless. Life feels like going through motions I don't remember agreeing to. I'm 47 years old. Respected in my field. Tenured professor. Comfortable income. And I feel like I'm dying from the inside out. I don't know what's real anymore. I understand quantum mechanics. I can explain particle behavior. I can predict outcomes with mathematical precision. But I can't explain why I exist. And that question is eating me alive. I sit in my car for 20 minutes. No answers come. Just emptiness. I drive home. I go to bed. I wake up 6 hours later and go back to work. Because what else is there? A week passes. Normal routine. Teach classes. Run experiments. Publish findings. But something is different. Small things at first. Lab equipment displaying readings that shouldn't be possible. Data suggesting that my observation is affecting outcomes beyond normal quantum effects. I check the instruments. They're calibrated perfectly. I run the same experiments when I'm not watching. Different results. I run them again when I am watching. The impossible readings return. It's me. Something about me is affecting reality in ways that shouldn't happen. I don't tell anyone. Because how do you explain that the observer effect has become personal? That your presence is warping measurements beyond established physics? You don't. You start questioning your sanity. The dreams begin 2 weeks after the breakdown. Not normal dreams. Memories of places I've never been. Conversations in languages I don't speak but somehow understand. Faces I don't recognize but feel like I've known forever. And always, the same feeling. I've forgotten something crucial. Something I was supposed to remember. Something that makes sense of everything. I wake up at 3 a.m. night after night. Drenched in sweat. Heart pounding. The feeling of forgetting is overwhelming. Like standing on the edge of remembering something vital and having it slip away at the last second. Again and again. I start losing time. An hour disappears. I'm at my desk, and suddenly it's 3 hours later. No memory of what happened in between. 5 minutes stretch into what feels like an hour. Time is becoming elastic. And I'm becoming convinced I'm losing my mind. I tell my ex-wife during one of our rare phone calls about our daughter. Sarah, I think something's wrong with me. What kind of wrong? Her voice is cautious. We've been divorced for 6 years. She knows my tendency to intellectualize everything. I don't know. Dreams. Time distortions. Equipment malfunctioning around me. And this feeling that I've forgotten something important. Silence. Then, David, are you sleeping? Eating? Have you talked to anyone? I'm fine. I just needed to tell someone. But I'm not fine. I'm coming apart. 3 weeks after the initial breakdown, I make a decision. I need isolation. Complete isolation. Away from the lab. Away from students. Away from the constant noise of trying to maintain normalcy when nothing feels normal anymore. I tell the department I'm taking a sabbatical. Research trip. Investigating anomalous readings in remote locations. They approve it immediately. I never take time off. They are probably relieved. I rent a cabin. Northern California. Mountain region. No cell service. No internet. Just forest, stars, and silence. I pack equipment. Magnetometers. Quantum measurement devices. Recording instruments. If something is happening to me, I'm going to document it. Like a good scientist. Even if that scientist is losing his grip on reality. I drive 8 hours. The further I get from the city, the stronger the feeling becomes. Not anxiety. Anticipation. Like I'm heading toward something. Or something is heading toward me. I arrive at sunset. The cabin is basic. 1 room. Wood stove. Solar panels for minimal electricity. Perfect. I unload my equipment. Set up measurement devices around the perimeter. And I wait. Night falls. The stars emerge. Millions of them. No light pollution this far from civilization. I sit outside on a wooden chair. The air is cold. October in the mountains. I breathe. And I feel it. The same feeling from the lab. But stronger. Much stronger. I'm being watched. Not by cameras. Not by satellites. By something present but invisible. Assessing. Observing. Waiting. My rational mind screams. Paranoia. Isolation-induced delusion. Stress manifesting as perceived surveillance. But a deeper part knows. This is real. I'm not alone. I sit perfectly still. Heart rate elevated. Breathing controlled. Recording this internally like I would any experiment. Subject. David Chen. Location. Isolated forest. Time. Approximately 9:47 p.m. Phenomenon. Sensation of being observed by unknown presence. Hypothesis. Either psychological breakdown or actual contact. Prediction. Within the next hour, something will clarify which. I wait. The silence deepens. Not gradually. Instantly. One moment, I hear the forest. Wind in trees. Distant owl. Insects. The next moment, absolute silence. Complete absence of sound. Not natural. Impossible. The air pressure changes. My ears pop. The temperature drops 5 degrees in seconds. And then I see it. 15 feet in front of me. The air is bending. Not metaphorically. Literally warping like heat waves rising from asphalt. Except it's cold. And the distortion is expanding. Form emerging from nothing. Tall. 7 feet at least. Proportions slightly wrong for human. Limbs too long. Head too large. Skin that isn't skin. Translucent. Luminescent. Silver blue like moonlight made solid. Eyes. Massive dark eyes with no visible white. Just depth. Intelligence. And something else. Compassion. I'm frozen. Every survival instinct is screaming run. But I can't move. Not paralyzed. Just held by something more powerful than fear. Curiosity. The being is fully formed now. Standing perfectly still. Not breathing. Not blinking. just observing me the way I've observed quantum particles my entire career. With complete attention. And then I hear it. Not sound. Impression. Knowledge placed directly into my mind without passing through language. Fear not. I mean no harm. I am observer Kale. My mouth is dry. My hands are gripping the chair arms. But I force words out. Hallucination. Stress-induced psychosis. Sleep deprivation manifesting as complex visual and auditory. You are not hallucinating, Dr. Chen. I am as real as the atoms comprising your body, which, as you know from your research, are mostly empty space held together by electromagnetic forces. Just as I am mostly consciousness held together by coherent intention. How does it know my name? My research? I know many things about you, David. May I call you David? I nod slowly. I have been observing you for 6 Earth months. Since the night you drove to the side of the road and wept. Asking a question your species rarely asks sincerely. What is the point? My blood goes cold. Nobody knows about that night. I was alone. You were not alone. You are never alone. Humanity believes in isolation because you cannot perceive the field of consciousness surrounding and interpenetrating all physical form. But it exists. And I exist within it. What do you want? My voice is steadier than I expected. To answer your question. The one you asked in your car. And the one you have been asking your entire life without realizing it. Which question? Why you exist. Why you incarnated into a human body. Why you volunteered to forget everything you knew before birth. And why the next 15 years will determine if you remember in time. Silence. I'm processing words that should sound insane but instead land with the weight of truth I've been avoiding. Volunteered? Incarnated? I didn't volunteer for anything. I was born. My parents conceived your body. Yes. But the consciousness animating that body, the awareness currently experiencing confusion, fear, and growing recognition, existed long before David Chen was conceived. You chose this life, David. Every parameter. Your parents. Your intelligence. Your field of study. Your existential crisis at 47. All designed by you before birth as optimal conditions for what you came here to do. Which is? Remember. Remember what you forgot. Remember why you volunteered to forget. And then help others remember before the window closes. What window? The being moves closer. Fluid motion like water flowing upward. Earth is in the final 15 years of a 300,000-year experiment. An experiment in consciousness evolution that has never been attempted in this galaxy. And humanity is approaching the threshold moment. The moment where you either awaken collectively, or sleep for another 26,000-year cycle. My mind is racing, trying to find rational explanation, trying to categorize this experience into known frameworks. There are none. David, I understand your resistance. Your training demands skepticism. So I will not ask you to believe. I will show you. Close your eyes. What? Close your eyes. I am going to share a memory. A memory of something that happened before you became David Chen. Something you need to see to understand why you are here. And why you feel so profoundly lost. Every instinct says no. Don't close your eyes in front of an unknown entity. But a deeper instinct says yes. Trust this. I close my eyes. Darkness. My breathing. My heartbeat. And then I'm somewhere else. I'm not in a forest. I'm not in a body. I'm awareness. Pure awareness without physical form. Floating in a space that isn't space. Existing in a moment that isn't time. And I'm not alone. Thousands of beings surround me. Not bodies. Lights. Consciousness in its natural state. Luminous. Radiant. Interconnected. And in the center, a presence so vast I can barely comprehend it. Not a being. More like an ocean of consciousness. And all of us are drops within it. A voice emerges. Not sound. Knowledge transmitted directly. You have requested this assignment. Are you certain? And I hear myself respond. Not David's voice. Something deeper. I am certain. The voice continues. Earth is our most challenging incarnation environment. Complete amnesia upon birth. Full identification with physical form. Dense 3D reality with extreme duality. Short lifespans creating time pressure. And no guarantee of awakening during the lifetime. Many souls attempt Earth and never remember. They live entire lives believing they are only the body, only the personality, only the temporary identity. And they return here having experienced separation but not remembering reunion. Are you willing to risk this? I hear myself again. I am willing. Because if I can forget completely and still find my way home through free will alone, the data will serve countless others. This is my purpose. To explore the furthest reaches of forgetting. And to map the pathway back. Another presence speaks. Warm. Familiar. Then we will design your optimal conditions. You will need intelligence to question. You will need career in science to bridge material and spiritual. You will need existential crisis at midlife to crack open the conditioning. You will need isolation to remove distractions. And you will need specific encounter to catalyze full remembering. All of this we will encode into your life structure. But remember, free will remains. You can choose to ignore every catalyst. You can choose comfort over awakening. You can choose to sleep through the entire lifetime. This is the nature of Earth. Complete freedom to forget forever. Are you still willing? I hear my own response with absolute clarity. I am willing. Show me my parents. The vision shifts. I see a couple. Young. Chinese immigrants. PhD students in California. Struggling. Intelligent. Emotionally distant from each other. Not ideal parents by conventional standards. Perfect parents for my assignment. Your father will teach you intellectual rigor but emotional disconnection. Your mother will teach you discipline but also loneliness. Both will love you in the only ways they know. And both will provide exactly the friction you need. The loneliness will drive your seeking. The intellectualism will demand evidence. The isolation will create space for contact. All perfect. Yes. I choose them. The vision shifts again. I'm approaching Earth. Descending through layers. Each layer stripping away memory. First layer, language. Direct knowing becomes conceptual thought. Immediate understanding becomes words. Second layer, time. Eternal now fractures into past, present, future. Anxiety about what was and what might be. Third layer, separation. Unity consciousness becomes individual perspective. Oneness becomes isolation. Fourth layer, matter. Pure awareness begins identifying with physical form. I become this body. Fifth layer, complete forgetting. Everything before this moment dissolves. Birth becomes beginning. Death becomes end. I am no longer infinite consciousness experiencing temporary form. I am David Chen. Human. Limited. Mortal. Alone. And I have no memory of choosing this. The vision ends. I open my eyes. I'm back in the forest. Back in the body. Back in time. But I'm not the same. Tears are streaming down my face. Not from sadness. From recognition. I chose this, I whisper. I actually chose this. Yes. You volunteered for the hardest assignment in this galaxy. Complete amnesia. Full immersion in the illusion of separation. And the mission to find your way home anyway. But why? My voice is breaking. Why would I choose to suffer? To forget? To spend 47 years lost? Kale moves closer. Those enormous eyes holding mine. Because reunion after complete separation is incomparably sweet. Because the journey from forgetting to remembering creates consciousness expansion equivalent to 10,000 years of ordinary existence. Because Earth is not a punishment. It is an accelerated evolution laboratory. A pressure cooker for consciousness growth. And you volunteered to be part of the greatest experiment this galaxy has ever attempted. What experiment? That is what I must show you next. The cosmic context. What humanity is. Why you are here. And why the next 15 years are the most critical in 300,000 years of human history. Kale gestures, and the forest around me dissolves. Not physically. Perceptually, I'm still sitting in the chair. But I'm also suspended in space, watching Earth from orbit. Blue marble, swirling clouds, fragile atmosphere. This planet, Kale's transmission begins, is unique in ways your species does not understand. In this galaxy, there exist approximately 47 million sentient species. Civilizations spanning thousands of worlds. Beings of every imaginable form. The vision expands. I see them. Countless species. Some humanoid. Some incomprehensibly alien. Cities of light. Worlds of pure thought. Civilizations existing across multiple dimensions simultaneously. Of these 47 million species, Kale continues, 98% maintain constant connection to source consciousness. What humans call God, universe, all that is. They incarnate knowing who they are. They live without forgetting. They die conscious of the cycle. They exist in harmony with natural law. The vision shows me. Beings of radiant light living in perfect cooperation. No violence. No war. No suffering. Beautiful. Peaceful. But something is missing. Do you see it, David? They are not growing, I say slowly. They are static. Correct. Without challenge, without contrast, without the possibility of choosing incorrectly, there is minimal development. A being who never forgets source never learns to seek source. A being who never experiences separation never learns the value of union. They exist in pleasant stagnation. Immortal but unchanged. The vision shifts. Earth again. But different. Overlaid with energy. Chaotic. Violent. Beautiful. Terrifying. Humanity in all its mess. And then, 300,000 Earth years ago, a proposal was made. What if consciousness incarnated with complete amnesia? What if it forgot source entirely? What if it had to find its way home through free will alone? What if there was no guarantee of success? What if a soul could spend entire lifetimes lost in the illusion of separation? I feel the weight of that proposal. The risk. Most species refused. Too dangerous. Too painful. Too likely to fail. But a specific type of consciousness volunteered. Advanced souls seeking accelerated growth. Courageous souls willing to risk complete forgetting. Souls who understood that one Earth lifetime of growth equals 10,000 years elsewhere. The vision shows the process. Souls lining up. Choosing Earth despite the warnings. Descending into the amnesia layers. Being born into human bodies. Forgetting everything. Living entire lives as separate, mortal, limited beings. Most never remembering. Dying and returning with data. Experienced separation fully, did not awaken. Some remembering partially. A few remembering completely. This is the experiment Kale transmits. Can consciousness find itself in the deepest darkness? Can free will choose light when surrounded by illusion? Can love emerge from beings who believe they are alone? And has it worked? I ask. The experiment. Beyond expectations. The vision shows me humanity's greatest achievements. Not technology. Not empires. Art. Music born from suffering that transcends suffering. Poetry capturing divine truth while believing the poet is only human. Acts of love between beings who believe they will die and never meet again. Sacrifices made for strangers based on empathy that shouldn't exist if we're truly separate. You create beauty we cannot imagine, Kale says. You feel depths we cannot access. You love with intensity that comes only from believing love could be lost. And when a human awakens, when they remember source after complete forgetting, the expansion of consciousness is. He pauses. We have no words. It is cosmic. I'm overwhelmed. 47 years believing I'm just a brain in a skull. Just a body that will die. Just a random accident of evolution. And now this. So we're succeeding. I ask. Humanity is succeeding. In most ways, yes. But you are approaching a critical threshold. The experiment has a timeline. And Earth is entering the final 15 years. The vision shifts again. A timeline. 300,000 years compressed into visual. Long periods of slow progress. Sudden leaps. Buddha, Christ, other teachers, then recent centuries, acceleration, then now, present moment, then future, two diverging paths. What happens in 15 years? My voice is quiet. That depends on humanity's choices. Every 26,000 years, Earth passes through a specific region of space. A region where the veil between dimensions thins. Where awakening becomes exponentially easier. You entered this region in 2012. You will exit it in 2040. What happens between 2025 and 2040 determines your species' trajectory for the next 26,000 years. What are the options? Kale shows me both futures. I need to see them. I need to understand what's at stake. First, the failure timeline. The vision fills with images I don't want to see but must. Earth, 2045. Cities functioning perfectly. Technology everywhere. Clean energy. Climate controlled. But something wrong. Fundamentally wrong. People walking. Working. Living. But not alive. Eyes empty. Faces expressionless. Movements mechanical. Conversations minimal. Connection absent. Everyone isolated in personal digital bubbles even when physically together. This is Earth if critical mass is not reached. Kale narrates. 8.2 billion humans. 9.8% achieved awakening. 786 million. Not enough. The threshold is 12 to 15%. At 9.8%, the momentum reverses. Those who awakened cannot sustain consciousness in an ocean of unconsciousness. They are slowly pulled back to sleep. Their children choose the comfort of forgetting. And within 2 generations, even the memory of the possibility of awakening fades. I see a specific scene. A woman in her 60s. One of the awakened ones. Sitting alone. Tears streaming. Unable to connect with anyone. Her grown children don't understand her. Her grandchildren think she's strange. She knows what they've lost. But she's powerless to help them see. And slowly, year by year, even her clarity dims. Because consciousness cannot thrive in complete isolation. The experiment concludes, insufficient awakening rate. Earth continues in separation for another 26,000 years. Another cycle. Another opportunity. But for this generation, for you, David, the window closes. And the other timeline? I ask. The success timeline. The vision shifts. Same starting point. 2025. But different choices. More humans pausing. Questioning. Seeking. More existential crises catalyzing awakening instead of being medicated away. More teachers emerging. Not gurus. Just ordinary people sharing what they've remembered. The percentage climbs. 10% by 2030. 11% by 2034. 12% by 2037. And then, something shifts. Not dramatic. Not apocalyptic. Just a tipping point. Like water turning to steam. Same substance. New state. Suddenly, awakening becomes easier for everyone. The collective field changes. Those on the edge are pulled toward remembering instead of forgetting. Children are born with less amnesia. Old souls incarnate in greater numbers to assist. By 2045, the vision shows 30 to 40% fully awake. Not enlightened masters. Just humans who remember they're more than the body. And everything changes. Not the elimination of challenge, but transformation of relationship to challenge. Education systems reformed. Teaching consciousness development alongside mathematics. Healthcare evolved. Addressing energy and awareness alongside physical symptoms. Economics shifted. Cooperation valued over competition. Technology used to enhance connection, not replace it. Art everywhere. Because awakened humans create naturally. Suffering still exists. Pain still happens. Death still occurs. But existential terror is gone. Because people know, I am not only this body. I do not end at death. The vision shows me a specific moment. David Chen, age 67. Teaching at the same university. But the classroom is different. Students eager. hungry, present. The lecture isn't just quantum physics. It's consciousness physics. Material and spiritual integrated seamlessly. And in the back of the room, a young woman. My daughter, Sarah, age 28. Awake. She awakened at 19 because I showed her it was possible. Not by preaching. Just by living differently. We have a relationship now. Real connection. She's brought her own daughter. My granddaughter, age 4, who will grow up in a world where remembering is normal. Tears are running down my face again. This timeline is equally probable, Kale says. The variable is choice. Individual choices compounding exponentially. Specifically, choices made by early awakeners in the next 5 years. Early awakeners. Souls who incarnated specifically for this 15-year window. Who designed their lives to awaken between 2020 and 2030. So they could spend 2030 to 2040 helping others awaken. You are one of them, David. How many? Approximately 400 million globally. Those experiencing existential crisis right now. Those feeling increasingly uncomfortable in mainstream consensus reality. Those sensing time is running out for something they can't name. If most of these 400 million awaken and live consciously, they will tip the entire species. If they ignore the call and choose comfort, the window closes. And what's our current percentage? I need to know the numbers. As of October 2024, approximately 560 million humans have experienced some degree of awakening. That is 7% of 8 billion. Growing at roughly 0.3 to 0.5% per year. At current rate, you reach 9 to 10% by 2040. Insufficient. But if growth accelerates, if early awakeners activate and each influences even 100 others, percentage could reach 13 to 14% by 2037. That creates cascade effect. By 2040, potentially 20 to 25%. Well beyond threshold. Humanity transitions. The weight of it settles on me. 400 million people. Waking up right now. Feeling exactly what I feel. Existential crisis not as breakdown but as breakthrough. And our collective choices in the next 15 years determine everything. Why didn't you tell us sooner? I ask. Why wait until now? The veil had to thin first. Before 2012, mass awakening was impossible. Planetary frequency too dense. Between 2012 and 2025, foundation laid. Teachers emerged. Information spread. Seeds planted. 2025 to 2040 is harvest. Now the field is ready. Now you can actually hear this information without dismissing it. Tell the truth, David. If I had contacted you in 2010, would you have listened? I think about who I was 14 years ago. Arrogant. Certain. Materialist to the core. I would have called security. No, I admit. I would have dismissed you immediately. Exactly. But now? After your breakdown? After the questions? After feeling your equipment respond to your consciousness? Now you are ready. As are millions of others. The experiment is entering its conclusion phase. And you, David Chen, are being asked to participate consciously. What does that mean? Participate consciously. I will show you. The vision fades. I'm back in the forest completely. Sitting in the chair. Body solid. Heart still pounding. Kale standing before me. And I have so many questions. But he speaks first. You want to know what to do. How to awaken fully. How to help others awaken. How to ensure humanity reaches the threshold. Yes. Understand this first. Awakening is not an event. It is a process. You do not suddenly become enlightened and remain that way forever. You have moments of recognition followed by forgetting. Expansion followed by contraction. Clarity followed by confusion. This is normal. This is the path. The goal is not permanent bliss. The goal is remembering more often and for longer periods until remembering becomes your baseline. I nod. This matches my experience. Moments in meditation where everything makes sense. Then return to daily life where nothing makes sense. Second, awakening does not require special circumstances. You do not need a guru. You do not need years in a monastery. You do not need psychedelics or extreme practices. Those can help, but they are not required. Awakening happens through ordinary choices made consistently. Let me give you the specific practices. I grab my notebook. Scientist reflex. Document everything. 7 daily practices, Kale says. Do them imperfectly but do them consistently. They rewire consciousness through repetition. I'm ready. First, morning silence. 20 minutes minimum. Before phone, before coffee, before thinking. Just sitting. Observing thoughts without engaging them. This builds the observer muscle. The capacity to witness experience without identifying as experience. Just sitting? Nothing else. Nothing else. Not meditation in the sense of trying to achieve a state. Just observing what arises. Thoughts will come. That is normal. Your task is to notice you are aware of thoughts. That awareness is what you are, not the thoughts themselves. I write it down. Simple. Deceptively simple. Second, conscious breathing. Multiple times throughout the day. When stress arises, pause. 3 deep breaths with complete attention. Inhale for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Exhale for 4. Hold for 4. This interrupts unconscious reactivity. Brings consciousness back into body. Prevents autopilot mode. I can do that. Third, single tasking. Humans have trained themselves for constant distraction. Multitasking. Scrolling while watching TV. Eating while working. This fragments consciousness. Practice doing one thing at a time with complete attention. When eating, just eat. Taste every bite. When walking, just walk. Feel every step. When talking to someone, just listen. Don't plan your response. This reintegrates fragmented awareness. I write faster. These aren't abstract spiritual concepts. They are practical protocols. Fourth, genuine connection. Once daily minimum. 1 real conversation. Eye contact. Phone completely off. No distractions. Ask someone, how are you, really? And listen without agenda. This builds heart-field coherence. Strengthens the electromagnetic field generated by your heart, which affects everyone around you. The field effect. Yes, your heart generates electromagnetic field extending 8 to 10 feet. When coherent, when you are genuinely present, this field entrains nearby fields. Others feel it unconsciously. They relax. They open. They become slightly more conscious in your presence. You become a tuning fork for awakening. Not through preaching. Through being. This stops me. All these years thinking I need to convince people with arguments. But the real influence is energetic. Fifth, nature immersion. Weekly minimum. Ideally daily. 1 hour. No phone. No agenda. Just presence in natural environment. Forest, beach, mountain, desert. Nature operates at frequencies that recalibrate human consciousness. Your nervous system synchronizes with natural rhythms. This dissolves artificial stress and restores baseline coherence. 1 hour a week. Minimum. More is better. Your species evolved in nature. You are designed to interface with natural electromagnetic fields. Concrete and screens disrupt this interface. Nature restores it. Sixth, creative expression. Regular. Any form. Music, writing, painting, dance, cooking, gardening. Not for outcome. Not for product. Not for audience. For processing consciousness through form. Awakening generates energy that needs expression. Creativity is the release valve. Without it, energy becomes stagnant or overwhelming. I think about my years of pure intellectualism. No art. No music. No expression beyond academic papers. No wonder I felt dead inside. Seventh, service. Regular acts of helping others without need for recognition. Anonymous if possible. This dissolves ego, reminds you of interconnection, and generates energy that sustains awakening. Paradox. You awaken for yourself but sustain awakening through service. He pauses. These 7 practices are not optional if you wish to reach stable awakening. They address different aspects of consciousness. Silence develops the observer. Breathing anchors awareness in body. Single tasking reintegrates fragmentation. Connection builds heart coherence. Nature recalibrates nervous system. Creativity expresses emerging consciousness. Service dissolves ego. Together, they create conditions for remembering. I look at my notes. 7 simple practices. Nothing supernatural. Nothing requiring special knowledge. Just consistent, ordinary choices. How long? I ask. How long until I'm fully awake? Wrong question. Awakening is not destination. It is ongoing expansion of consciousness that never completes. Even I continue to evolve. Even Source continues to know itself through infinite expressions. Better question. How long until you stabilize in remembering? Until temporary forgetting becomes exception rather than rule? For you specifically, with disciplined practice, 3 to 5 years. By 2027 to 2029, you will have integrated awakening sufficiently to teach from stable ground. Others will sense the shift. They will ask what changed. And you will share not as philosophy but as lived experience. And that's how I help others awaken? By embodying it myself. Primarily, yes. You will also speak when called. Write when inspired. Teach when students appear. But your main contribution is simply being consciously present in a world of unconscious automation. You are tuning fork, remember. 400 million early awakeners stabilizing by 2030. Each affecting 2,000 to 5,000 others through field effect alone. This creates the cascade that reaches critical mass. I sit with this. The responsibility feels enormous. And simultaneously, completely natural. Like I've always known this is why I came. Kale, I say quietly. Thank you. You are welcome, David. But do not thank me yet. I must show you one more thing. The challenge. The obstacle that defeats most early awakeners. Even after initial awakening. What is it? The pull back to sleep. Imagine, Kale begins, that you have awakened fully. You remember you are eternal consciousness. You practice the 7 protocols daily. You feel clear, present, connected. The vision shows me. Future David. 6 months from now. Meditating every morning. Living consciously. Feeling good. Then you return to university. Back to colleagues who think consciousness is brain byproduct. Back to academic culture that values only measurable outcomes. Back to a system built entirely on materialist assumptions. The vision shows me in faculty meetings. Someone makes joke about woo-woo spirituality. Others laugh. I feel pressure to laugh too. To fit in. To not be weird. First challenge, social pressure. Humans are tribal creatures. You are biologically programmed to conform to group norms. When everyone around you is asleep, staying awake requires constant energy. The vision continues. I'm at a conference. Presenting research. Colleagues ask about my sabbatical. What did you discover? And I feel the pull to say something acceptable. Interesting anomalies in quantum measurements. Published findings will be available soon. Not mentioning aliens. Or consciousness. Or awakening. Because who would believe it? Who would take me seriously? Second challenge, credibility threat. You spent decades building reputation. Awakening threatens that reputation. Speaking truth risks being dismissed as delusional. So there is temptation to compartmentalize. Stay awake privately. Stay professional publicly. But compartmentalization fractures consciousness. You cannot be fully awake in private and fully asleep in public. Eventually, you must integrate or regress. The vision shifts. I'm home. Evening. Exhausted. The 7 practices feel like burden. Meditation feels like another task. Silence feels lonely rather than peaceful. Just one night off, I say to myself. Just one night of mindless TV. Third challenge, discipline fatigue. Awakening requires consistent practice. But human brains are wired for short-term pleasure. Netflix provides immediate dopamine hit. Meditation provides long-term transformation but immediate discomfort. Easy to skip one day, then two, then a week, and suddenly you have forgotten again. The vision shows months passing. My practice declines. My clarity dims. I'm not fully asleep, but not fully awake. Stuck in middle ground. Knowing truth intellectually but not living it experientially. This is where most early awakeners get trapped, Kale says. Not in complete forgetting, but in comfortable half-remembering. Spiritual knowledge without embodiment. Understanding without transformation. And this is more dangerous than complete sleep. Why? Because you believe you are awake when you are not. You have knowledge. You have experiences. But your daily life remains unchanged. You are spiritually informed but not spiritually transformed. And you stop seeking because you believe you have arrived. The weight of this lands. I've seen this in myself with other things. Read about fitness. Feel informed. Never actually exercise. Learn about nutrition. Know what's healthy. Eat poorly anyway. Knowledge without practice is useless. So how do I avoid this trap? I ask. Community. You cannot sustain awakening alone. You need others walking the same path. Not as followers. As equals. People with whom you can be completely honest about your experience. People who will call you out when you start spiritually bypassing. People who remind you to practice when motivation fades. The vision shows me. A small group. Maybe 7 people. Meeting weekly. Sharing honestly. I meditated twice this week. I'm struggling. I'm feeling the pull back to old patterns. I had a breakthrough today. Can I share it? Support. Accountability. Shared journey. This is essential, Kale emphasizes. Find your people. Or create your group. But do not attempt this alone. Humanity awakens together or not at all. I write this down. Underline it. Community. Non-negotiable. One more obstacle, Kale says. Perhaps the most difficult. What is it? Your family. Your daughter, Sarah. She is 8 years old now. She knows you as detached, intellectual, emotionally distant father. When you awaken and become present, feeling, connected, she will be confused. Possibly resistant. She has adapted to your absence. Your presence will disrupt her adaptation. This hits hard. And your ex-wife. She divorced you because of your emotional unavailability. When you become available, she may feel anger. Where was this version of you when we were married? This is legitimate pain. You cannot bypass it with spiritual platitudes. You must sit with it. Acknowledge harm caused. Allow others their process. While continuing your own transformation. The vision shows me. Difficult conversation with Sarah. Why are you different, Dad? It's weird. I'm sorry I wasn't present before. I'm learning how to be now. But I liked you before. You were predictable. And me sitting with her discomfort. Not fixing it. Just being present for it. This is real awakening, Kale says. Not floating in bliss. But showing up for messy human relationships. Repairing damage while continuing to grow. This is how consciousness embodies in 3D reality. I feel tears again. Because this is what I've been avoiding. The real human work. I understand, I say. I'll do it anyway. Good. Because your daughter is also an early awakener. She is designed to awaken at 19. But only if she sees it modeled first. Only if you show her that transformation is possible. You awakening ensures she awakens. Which ensures her children awaken. 3 generations of consciousness. This is how the cascade works. The vision expands. Me awakening affects Sarah. Sarah awakening affects her future children. Her children affect their generation. Exponential spread. Not through preaching. Through living. You are not just individual consciousness, David. You are node in network. Your awakening ripples through web of relationships in ways you cannot see but will absolutely feel. This is the mathematics of critical mass. This is why your choice matters. I sit with the magnitude. One person, but connected to thousands. One awakening catalyzing countless others. I'm ready, I say. What happens now? Now you return to your life. You begin the 7 practices tomorrow morning. You will struggle. You will forget. You will doubt. And when that happens, remember this conversation. Remember you chose this before birth. Remember the 2 timelines. Remember 400 million others waking up simultaneously. You are not alone. You have never been alone. You are consciousness remembering itself through the David Chen experience. And that remembering is the most important thing happening on Earth right now. Kale begins to fade. The luminescence dimming. Wait, I say. Will I see you again? When appropriate. Not physically perhaps. But I remain accessible in consciousness. When you sit in silence, feel for my presence. I will respond. Thank you, I whisper. For everything. Thank you, David. For volunteering. For being courageous enough to forget. And courageous enough to remember. And he's gone. The forest is just forest again. Stars above. Cold air. Normal sounds returning. But I'm not the same person who arrived here. I can never be that person again. Because I've seen. I've remembered. And I know what I have to do. 3 months later. January 2025. I'm sitting in meditation. Day 87 of consecutive practice. It's 5:30 a.m. My apartment is dark and quiet. 20 minutes of silence every morning. Some days are clear. Some days my mind is chaos. Today is chaos day. Thoughts racing. To-do list intruding. Body restless. But I stay. Not forcing calm. Just observing storm. And somewhere around minute 15, something shifts. The storm is still there. But I'm not in it. I'm watching it from a slight distance. Observer and observed are distinct. This is what Kale meant. Not stopping thoughts. Recognizing I'm not thoughts. Timer rings. 20 minutes complete. I open my eyes. Same apartment. Same body. But relationship to experience has changed. I make coffee. Consciously. Single tasking. Grinding beans. Boiling water. Pouring slowly. Tasting every sip. This used to be automatic. Background activity while checking email. Now it's a practice. A reminder. I am here. I am now. I am present. My phone buzzes. I ignore it. New boundary. No phone until after breakfast. Small choice. Massive impact. Because every time I check phone first thing, I hand my consciousness to algorithm designed to fragment attention. Every time I delay, I claim sovereignty over my own awareness. Breakfast finished. I open my phone. Email from department chair. David, your research proposal on consciousness affecting quantum systems was reviewed. Unfortunately, we cannot support this direction. Too far outside established frameworks. Let's discuss more conventional angles. 6 months ago, this would devastate me. Today, I feel brief disappointment. Then I breathe. 3 breaths. Conscious. And I recognize, this is the challenge Kale warned about. Academic system resists paradigm shift. I have choice. Option 1. Abandon this research. Return to acceptable science. Option 2. Pursue it independently. Risk reputation. I choose option 2. Not defiantly. Not as rebellion. Simply because it's true. And truth matters more than reputation. I email back. Thank you for considering it. I'll pursue independent funding. Send. First test passed. I drive to campus. Teaching day. Quantum Mechanics 301. Undergraduate level. I enter classroom. 40 students. Mostly on phones. I used to start immediately. Dive into material. Maximize efficiency. Today I pause. Stand silently at front of room for 30 seconds. Students look up. Confused. Did class start? Before we discuss quantum entanglement, I say, I want to ask you something. Why are you here? And I don't mean here in this classroom. I mean here. Alive. Conscious. Existing. Silence. One student raises hand tentatively. 2. Learn physics. Why learn physics? Longer silence. They've never been asked this. To get a degree. Why get a degree? 2. Get a job. Why get a job? A girl in the back says quietly, because we have to survive. And after survival? After your needs are met? Then what? They stare at me. I'm asking, I continue, because for 23 years I've taught physics without addressing the fundamental question. What is the consciousness asking these physics questions? What are you? A young man says, are you okay, Professor Chen? I smile. I'm more okay than I've ever been. And I'm inviting you to consider that quantum mechanics isn't just about particles. It's about the nature of observation itself. The observer effect isn't a quirk. It's a clue. Consciousness participates in reality. And you are that consciousness. Most students look uncomfortable. 7 students lean forward. Those 7. The ones ready. I proceed with regular lecture. But something has shifted. I'm not just transferring information. I'm planting seeds. After class, one of the 7 approaches. Professor Chen, what happened to you over sabbatical? Her name is Jennifer. Top student. Also happens to look exhausted. I had an awakening experience, I say directly. And everything changed. She studies me. I've been having really weird experiences. Dreams. Time distortions. Feeling like I'm losing my mind. My heart rate spikes. Another early awakener. You're not losing your mind, I say. You're beginning to remember something you forgot. Do you have time for coffee? She nods. We walk to campus coffee shop. I buy us both drinks. We sit. What's happening to me? She asks. And I tell her. Not everything. Not aliens. But the essence. You are consciousness experiencing temporary human form. Not the other way around. And right now, globally, millions of people are waking up to this recognition simultaneously. You're not crazy. You're early. She tears up. I thought I was alone. You're not. There are 400 million of us going through this right now. We talk for 2 hours. I share the 7 practices. She writes everything down. By the end, she looks lighter. Thank you, she says. I can't tell you what this means. You don't have to. Just practice. And when others start asking you what changed, share what you're learning. But I'm just a student. Who will listen to me? Other students. Your generation. They're waiting for someone their age to articulate what they're feeling. That's you. She leaves energized. I sit alone for a moment. This is it. This is the work. One conversation. One seed planted. Jennifer will affect hundreds. Some of those hundreds will affect thousands. Cascade effect beginning. Evening. I call my ex-wife. Sarah, it's David. What's wrong? She sounds guarded. Nothing's wrong. I wanted to ask if I could see our daughter more frequently. Maybe weekly instead of bi-weekly. Silence. Why? Because I've been absent. Really absent. Even when physically present. And I want to repair that. David, we've been divorced for 6 years. You haven't fought for more time once. I know. I was asleep. Now I'm waking up. And I don't want to waste more time. Long pause. Fine. But if you disappoint her again, we're done. Understood. Saturday. I pick up Sarah. She's 8. Smart. Guarded. Hi, Dad. Hi, sweetheart. We drive in silence. Where are we going? She asks. Nature preserve. For a walk. I want to show you something. Is this about school? Mom said you want to see me more. It's not about school. It's about spending time together. Really spending time. We arrive. I turn off my phone completely. Show her. Your phone's off. She's shocked. Yep. For the next 2 hours, it's just you and me. We walk. At first she's suspicious. Waiting for the catch. But there is no catch. I'm just present. Dad, why are you different? Different how? You're here. Like, really here. You never were before. I learned something important, Sarah. I learned that I was living my life half asleep. And I don't want to do that anymore. Were you sleeping a lot? Not physically. Mentally. I was going through motions without really being present. Does that make sense? She thinks. Like when I'm in class but thinking about other things. Exactly like that. We walk more. She reaches for my hand. First time in 3 years. And I feel it. Really feel it. The smallness of her hand. The trust she's offering. The opportunity to not screw this up. We sit on a bench overlooking a pond. Dad. Yay. I'm glad you're not sleeping anymore. Me too, sweetheart. Me too. We sit in comfortable silence. No need to fill it with words. Just being together. This is awakening embodied. Not cosmic visions. Not psychic abilities. Just a father and daughter present with each other. And somehow, this feels more important than every physics breakthrough I've ever had. 2 weeks later. Faculty meeting. Colleague asks about my research direction. David's going mystical on us. Someone jokes. Consciousness causing quantum collapse. Next he'll be measuring prayer. Others laugh. Old David would get defensive. Argumentative. New David breathes. 3 conscious breaths. I understand it sounds unconventional, I say. But the hard problem of consciousness remains unsolved. If observation affects quantum systems, we need to understand what observation is. That's not mysticism. That's science addressing its own gaps. Colleague smirks. Good luck getting funding for that. I'm not concerned about funding. I'm concerned about truth. Meeting continues. Later, a younger professor approaches privately. I think you're onto something, he says quietly. But be careful. The system doesn't reward paradigm shifts. I know, but I can't pretend I don't see what I see. He nods. Keep me updated. I'm interested. Another seed planted. This is how it spreads. Not through dramatic revolution. Through quiet persistence. One conversation. One connection. One choice at a time. 3 months becomes 6 months. 6 months becomes 9 months. The 7 practices are no longer practices. They're just how I live. Morning silence. Conscious breathing. Single tasking. Genuine connection. Nature immersion. Creative expression. I've started painting, badly, but joyfully. Service. Volunteering at homeless shelter weekly. And something has definitely shifted. I feel lighter. More present. Less identified with David Chen and more identified with consciousness experiencing David Chen. Problems still arise. Challenges continue. But my relationship to them has changed. I'm not trying to avoid difficulty. I'm not trying to transcend humanity. I'm just here. Fully. Consciously. And people notice. Students ask what changed. Colleagues sense something different but can't name it. Sarah says, Dad, you make me feel calm. That's the field effect Cale described. My heart coherence affecting others' nervous systems. Not through words. Through presence. It's January 2026 now. 1 year since the encounter. I'm in meditation. Morning silence. And I feel it. Cale's presence. Not physical. Energetic. David. Cale. You're here. Always here. You are learning to perceive. I've been practicing. Every day. I know. Your field has changed dramatically. You are stabilizing in awakening. This is precisely on schedule. What happens now? You continue. The work intensifies. More people will find you. More conversations will emerge. You become resource for your local network of awakening beings. Not guru. Not teacher. Simply further along the path. How many others? I ask. How many early awakeners are active now? Approximately 127 million globally as of January 2026. 32% of the 400 million designed to wake first. Growth accelerating. If this pace continues, reaching critical mass by 2037 is probable. Probable. Not certain. Nothing is certain. Free will exists. But momentum is building. You are part of that momentum, David. Your daughter is noticing. Your students are questioning. Your field is affecting thousands without your awareness. This is exactly how the cascade works. I still doubt sometimes, I admit. Some mornings I wake up and think maybe it was all hallucination. That is ego attempting to reimpose control. Awakening threatens ego's supremacy. So it creates doubt. When that happens, look at the evidence. Your life is different. Your relationships are healing. Your consciousness is expanding. Results do not lie. He's right. The evidence is overwhelming. Thank you, I say, for choosing me, for showing me. You chose yourself before birth. I simply facilitated the remembering you planned. Now go live it. The presence fades. I open my eyes. Same apartment. Same morning. But I'm not who I was a year ago. I'm not even who I was yesterday. Because awakening is continuous evolution. Eternal consciousness recognizing itself more fully. Through David Chen's experience. Through this life. This body. This moment. And it's perfect. Not because everything is easy. Because everything is exactly as it needs to be. Let me speak to you directly now. Because this story isn't just about David Chen. It's about you. You, reading this or listening to this right now. You didn't arrive here by accident. Algorithms didn't randomly suggest this content. Something in you recognized the title, the theme, the calling, and that something is the part of you that remembers. The part that knows you're more than your body, more than your thoughts, more than the story you've been telling yourself for decades. How do I know? Because unconscious humans don't seek content about consciousness. They seek distraction, entertainment, comfort. The fact that you're still here, still listening, means you're already waking up. You're already part of the 400 million. You might not know it yet. You might doubt it. But somewhere deep inside, you feel it. The restlessness, the dissatisfaction, the sense that something fundamental is missing from modern life. That's not depression. That's not failure. That's awakening beginning. It's consciousness recognizing that the game you've been playing, the success game, the accumulation game, the approval game, isn't satisfying the deepest hunger. The hunger to remember what you are. And here's what most people don't understand. You designed it this way. Before you were born, you chose this life. These parents. This body. These challenges. Not as punishment. As curriculum. Because you're not here to just survive and die. You're here for the hardest assignment in this galaxy. Complete forgetting followed by complete remembering. And we're in the final 15 years of the timeline. 2025 to 2040. This is not symbolic. This is literal. Earth is passing through a region of space where the veil between dimensions thins. Where awakening becomes exponentially easier. But it's temporary. The window closes in 2040. What happens between now and then determines the next 26,000 years of human evolution. Either we reach critical mass, 12 to 15% of humanity fully awake, and the entire species tips into new paradigm. Or we don't reach it, and those of us who awaken spend the rest of our lives as isolated lights in a sea of darkness. Until we die and try again next cycle. The variables are choices. Your choices. Every morning you choose to hit snooze or sit in meditation. Every moment you choose to scroll or be present. Every interaction you choose to multitask or genuinely connect. These choices seem small, but they compound exponentially. One person awakening affects 2,000 others through electromagnetic field alone. You think you're just meditating for yourself, but you're changing the frequency of every person you encounter. They feel it unconsciously. Some get uncomfortable and pull away. Others get curious and lean in. Those who lean in start asking questions. And suddenly you're having conversations you never expected. Planting seeds in people who will plant seeds in thousands more. This is the mathematics of critical mass. This is why your personal awakening is not just personal. It's collective. It's strategic. It's essential. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. But I'm nobody. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a leader. What difference can I make? Everything. You can make all the difference. Because the cascade doesn't require famous people. It requires ordinary people living extraordinary consciousness. Mother of 3 remembering she's eternal while making breakfast. Accountant staying present during tax season. Nurse maintaining heart coherence in chaotic emergency room. These are the real awakeners. Not gurus on stages. Not best-selling authors. Just humans choosing consciousness in ordinary moments. Over and over. Day after day. Until it becomes natural. And others notice, something's different about you. That's the beginning. That's the seed that grows into their own awakening. Now let me tell you the difficult truth. Awakening is not comfortable. It's not easy. It requires you to question everything you've built your identity on. Your career. Your relationships. Your beliefs about reality. It requires you to sit with emotions you've been avoiding for decades. Grief. Anger. Fear. Loneliness. It requires you to stop numbing yourself with food, alcohol, work, social media, Netflix, shopping, sex, anything that keeps you from feeling what's actually present. And when you stop numbing, the pain surfaces. The pain of a lifetime of pretending. The pain of relationships built on false selves. The pain of careers that feed ego but starve soul. This is the dark night. And most people turn back here. Awakening made me feel worse. It's not working. I'm going back to normal. But normal is slow death. Normal is comfortable unconsciousness. Normal is the reason you felt empty in the first place. The dark night isn't failure. It's breakthrough. Old identity dying. False self dissolving. Space being created for true self to emerge. If you're in it right now, don't quit. This is the most important phase. You're not going backward. You're going through. And on the other side is freedom you cannot imagine while still identified with ego. But you have to keep going. Even when motivation disappears. Even when everyone around you thinks you're crazy. Even when results aren't visible yet. Keep practicing. Keep choosing consciousness. Keep showing up. Because the cascade depends on people like you not quitting. Here's the timeline. 2025 to 2028. Foundation years. Early awakeners stabilize. 2028 to 2032. Acceleration. Awakening becomes mainstream topic. 2032 to 2037. Rapid growth. Critical mass approaches. 2037 to 2040. Threshold crossed or missed. We're at the very beginning. You're early. Being early means it's harder. Less support. Less validation. More resistance. But being early also means you're here to hold space for those coming behind you. By 2030, millions will be waking up rapidly. They'll need guides. Not gurus. Just people 5 years ahead on the path. That's you. In 5 years, the conversations you're having now will prepare you for the conversations you'll need to have then. The doubt you're facing now will help you help others through their doubt. The loneliness you feel now will allow you to hold space for others' loneliness. Nothing is wasted. Everything is preparation. Trust the process. Now, practically speaking, what do you do? How do you participate consciously in this 15-year window? The 7 practices David learned are not optional. Morning silence, 20 minutes minimum, build the observer, conscious breathing, throughout the day, stay embodied, single tasking, reverse distraction training, genuine connection, build heart coherence, nature immersion, recalibrate nervous system, creative expression, release awakening energy, service, dissolve ego, remember interconnection. These are not spiritual luxuries. These are consciousness maintenance protocols. Without them, you will drift back to unconsciousness. With them, you will stabilize in awakening. Start with one. Master it before adding another. Don't try to be perfect. Try to be consistent. Imperfect daily practice beats perfect occasional practice every time. And find your people. You cannot do this alone. Join or create a community of fellow awakeners. Weekly meetings. Honest sharing. Accountability. This is non-negotiable. Isolation kills awakening. Community sustains it. If there's no community near you, create one. Post in local forums, consciousness discussion group forming. Weekly meetings. All perspectives welcome. 3 people will show up. That's enough. Those 3 will become 6. 6 will become 12. And suddenly you've created a field of consciousness that affects your entire town. This is grassroots awakening. This is how critical mass builds. Not from top down. From bottom up. Now, some of you are feeling called to something more. Beyond personal practice. You feel urgency to understand deeper. To heal faster. To be of service sooner. If that's you, there are resources. Our ebook, Reconnecting with Your Divine Essence, goes deeper into the mechanics of awakening. Specific techniques for clearing energetic blockages, establishing direct source connection, dissolving limiting beliefs, accelerating remembering process. Link in the first comment. For those needing personalized guidance, our spiritual therapists specialize in consciousness awakening. Not conventional therapy. Deep inner work. One-on-one sessions addressing your specific blocks. Email in description. But whether you use these resources or not, what matters is that you commit. Commit to the path. Commit to consciousness. Commit to being part of the solution. Because the apocalypse isn't coming. It's already here. Not as fire and brimstone. As collective forgetting. Humanity sleepwalking through life. Numb. Distracted. Disconnected. And the antidote is remembering. You remembering what you are. Then living from that remembrance. That's it. That's the entire work. Not complicated. But not easy. It requires everything you have. Your time. Your energy. Your courage. But what else are you saving it for? What's more important than this? What accomplishment matters more than consciousness itself? You volunteered for this assignment before birth. Not because it was easy. Because it was worth it. The data you're generating right now, your experience of awakening in the densest dimension of forgetting, is revolutionary. It will inform consciousness development across galaxies. For species you'll never meet. In dimensions you cannot imagine. You are not just waking up for yourself. You are waking up for all that is. Consciousness knowing itself through your unique perspective. This is sacred work. This is cosmic significance. And it's happening in ordinary moments. Making breakfast consciously. Breathing deeply in traffic. Listening fully to your child. This is how divinity embodies in 3D reality. Not through perfection. Through presence. So here's my challenge to you. For the next 7 days, do one thing. 20 minutes of morning silence. Just sit. Just observe. Just be. See what happens. Not what you think should happen. What actually happens. And if after 7 days you notice even a slight shift, more presence, less reactivity, clearer thinking, keep going. Add the next practice. Then the next. Build momentum. Create unstoppable awakening trajectory. And when others ask what changed, tell them the truth. I remembered something I forgot. And everything's different now. That's all you need to say. The ones who are ready will understand. The ones who aren't will dismiss it. Both are perfect. Your job isn't to convince anyone. Your job is to embody awakening so fully that your presence becomes invitation. And trust that those meant to accept the invitation will. 15 years. That's what we have. 2025 to 2040. Not a lot of time. But enough time if enough of us show up. So show up. Choose consciousness. Choose presence. Choose remembering over forgetting. Not once, but 10,000 times. Until it becomes who you are. Until David Chen is not pretending to be awake. Until you are not pretending to be awake. Until we collectively cross the threshold together. And Earth transitions. And humanity awakens. And the greatest experiment in galactic history succeeds. All because ordinary people made extraordinary choices. In ordinary moments. Over and over. until critical mass was reached. This is how we save the world. Not through revolution. Through remembering. Not through force. Through presence. Not through doing. Through being. You are consciousness. Eternal. Infinite. Unlimited. Temporarily wearing human form. And the time to remember this is now. Not tomorrow. Not when you're ready. Not when conditions are perfect. Now. If you've made it this far, you know. You know this isn't just a story. This is a transmission. A reminder. A calling. Something in you recognize truth in these words. Maybe not all of it. Maybe you still doubt parts. That's fine. Perfect. Actually. Doubt means you're thinking critically. But notice what you're not doubting. Notice the resonance. The feeling of I've always known this somehow. That's not imagination. That's memory stirring. Consciousness recognizing itself. Before I close, I want to share 3 final things. First, you are not broken. Whatever you've been through, however lost you've felt, whatever mistakes you've made, none of it means you're damaged beyond repair. It means you're human, having the human experience you designed to have. Every struggle was curriculum. Every crisis was catalyst. Every dark night was preparation for this awakening. Nothing wasted. Everything necessary. So stop waiting to be fixed before you begin the work. Begin the work and discover you were never broken. Just temporarily asleep. Second, it's not too late. I don't care if you're 20 or 80. If you're breathing, it's not too late. The window is open until 2040. That's 15 years from now. More than enough time to awaken fully and serve powerfully. Some of the most influential awakeners will be people who don't start until 2030. What matters is not when you start. What matters is that you start. And that you don't stop. Third, you're not alone in this. 400 million early awakeners globally. Most feeling exactly what you feel. The loneliness. The confusion. The sense of being alien in your own culture. That's not pathology. That's awakening. And there are millions of us going through it simultaneously. Find each other. Support each other. Awaken together. Because humanity doesn't awaken as individuals. We awaken as collective. One consciousness remembering itself through billions of perspectives. Your remembering helps me remember. My remembering helps you remember. This is the cascade. This is the threshold event. This is what the next 15 years are about. So here's what I ask. Don't just consume this content and move on. Let it change you. Let it activate something. Let it be the catalyst you've been waiting for. And then act. Subscribe to this channel. We release one awakening story per week. Each one designed to trigger remembering. To dissolve amnesia. To support your process. Turn on notifications. Don't miss any. Leave a comment below. Tell us where you are in your journey. What stage of awakening? What you're struggling with? What you're celebrating? Your voice matters. Your experience matters. Someone else needs to hear exactly what you have to say. If this content serves you, support it. Become a channel member. Recurring monthly support. Or leave a one-time contribution via Super Thanks in the comments. Every contribution allows us to create more content that helps humanity remember during this critical window. For those ready for deeper work. Ebook, Reconnecting with Your Divine Essence. Link in first pinned comment. Comprehensive guide for early awakeners. Everything David learned and more. Private sessions with spiritual therapists. Email in description. One-on-one support for your unique journey. These aren't luxuries. These are tools for those serious about awakening. Use them if called. But remember, the real work happens in your daily choices. 20 minutes of silence tomorrow morning. That's where it starts. Not with books or sessions. With you sitting in silence. You breathing consciously. You choosing presence over distraction. Do that. And everything else will follow. I'm going to close with the last thing Kale told David. You are impossibly courageous. You volunteered for the hardest assignment in this galaxy. Complete forgetting followed by free will remembering. Most beings would never attempt this. But you did. And you're succeeding beyond all predictions. The only question now is, will you continue? Will you stay awake when everything invites you back to sleep? Will you choose consciousness when unconsciousness is easier? That choice, made 10,000 times, determines everything. Not just for you. For all of us. That choice is in front of you right now. Wake up or stay asleep. Remember or forget. Participate consciously in the greatest experiment in galactic history or sleepwalk through the most critical 15 years of human evolution. What do you choose? I know what David chose. I know what I'm choosing. I know what 127 million others have already chosen. The question is, what will you choose? Choose wisely. Choose consciously. Choose soon. Because time is passing. The window is open. But it won't stay open forever. 15 years. That's what we have. Make them count. Remember who you are. Remember why you came. Remember that you are not alone. You are consciousness itself. Eternal. Infinite. Divine. Temporarily experiencing limitation. So that reunion will be cosmically sweet. Welcome home. Until the next story.